different types of land title and document for land transaction is what we'll be discussing today. So before the Land Use Act enacted in 1978, land was owned and controlled by communal authorities who had powers to assign or rent it out to whom they deemed. And upon the enactment of the decree, all land, mostly in urban areas, became owned and controlled by state government on behalf of the people. Today, we shall be taking you through some of the different land titles available and also on some important land documents that you need to know. This is C&V Advisory. You can subscribe right now. So the first one is freehold and under acquisition. In Nigeria, a land can either be freehold or under acquisition. A property becomes a freehold when the government has indicated no interest in the said property. Under this condition, it is very easy to get certificate of occupancy on the land. While the land is considered under a government acquisition where government has an interest in the land for the purpose of development or industrialization projects such as construction, expansion of road, hospitals, airports, schools, canals, etc. A land under government acquisition can either be global acquisition or committed acquisition. A land with committed acquisition means the government has designated the land for a specific project. As such, those lands will not be released to individuals or organizations for development projects. Acquiring lands that are under committed acquisition will eventually lead to the loss of such investment when the government moves to take full possession of such a parcel of land. And note, whatever structure erected on such land may be demolished by the government without any form of compensation. So whereas a land under global acquisition does not have a specific government purpose yet, and as such, those parcels of land can later be free or committed as the case may be. There are two main processes for making a land under global acquisition to be free, and these are accession and ratification. So let's get into it right away. In land accession, state government release land to indigenous people or settlers following legal protocols and processes, and since the Land Use Act was enacted, land accession has been used as a method for compensating the original owners. To excise the land means to cut it out and release it. This is a process whereby the government releases a parcel of land back to the indigenous owners of such land or applicants for development and settlement. When this excised parcel of land is published in government official gazette, the gazette becomes the title. Accession and gazette are two terms which are related, and accession is a term which means a land has been released to the owner, indigent or applicant by the government. The process can be ongoing. When it is successful, the accession is termed approved accession. The process will further move to a gazetting, which occurs when it is documented, recorded in a government document called gazette, which records that action and therefore stands as the title. The implication of this is that the land might be undergoing the process of accession following an application of the government to this effect, in which case a file number might be opened for it and process will continue until it successfully leads to the approval and actual accession and thereafter publication in a gazette. Based on the above, a land that is still undergoing the process and not yet in approved accession has not yet gotten a title. The reason is because it may well turn out that the application does not come out successfully. So buying land that is still undergoing the process of accession but not yet an approved accession does not mean that the land has a title yet. The approved accession and gazette accession is what is good title. To be on the safer side, if you buy a land and is still undergoing the process of accession but not yet approved, it is advisable that you buy from a reputable real estate company that has notable estate by their name, and that undertakes in an agreement to indemnify against loss, either by refunding you your money or giving you another suitable land as compensation in the event that the accession process does not end successfully. Gazette is a government document that records the description of the land has been excised, the identities and particulars of the villagers and owners to whom the excised land has been released. The gazette is a good title. When buying land, ensure that your surveyor tracks the land physically to be sure that it falls within the parcel of land that was excised and gazetted, and that it is the real title holders that are selling. The proper way to know whether a land is still undergoing accession process or that it has been gazetted is to take a surveyor down to the land to chart the land and set at the land registry. On the other hand, regularization, which also means ratification, is carried out when an individual or corporate entity acquires the land that belongs to the government. However, not all government lands can be regularized. Any land that will be regularized must not fall within a government committed area, and it must conform to the state planning regulation. Regularization entails buying the land properly from a government. It is an expensive process because After probably buying the land from the sellers or persons commonly called omonile, you still have to pay government for the land again. After regularization, the government releases the land and issues a certificate of occupancy, C of O, to the applicant. Certificate of occupancy is the most popular land title most people are familiar with. It is a very good title. Land with certificate of occupancy are safe to invest in. A certificate of occupancy is usually issued by the state government and it connotes with the state government as officially lease the piece of land to the applicant for 99 years. What happens after the expiration of the 99 years? If you come back to our channel, you'll find out. So subscribe right now and stay glued. When a land with certificate of occupancy is sold or transferred to another person, it is required that such a person must now obtain the consent of the governor in order for that buyer or transferee's name to be validly registered as the new owner in the government lands registry. The implication of not obtaining consent and not registering the buyer or transferee's name as the new owner in the land registry is that the seller's or transferee's name, who is stated in the registry as the holder of the C of O, will continue to be regarded as the owner of the legal title of the land in the eyes of the law until the new buyer's name is registered upon obtaining the governor's consent. The certificate of occupancy holder's name will always appear whenever a search is conducted on the land at the lands registry without any update on the record to show that the title of the land has subsequently been transferred to a new person based on a transaction. As the name sounds, a governor's consent means the governor consented to the transaction or transfer of ownership of the land with certificate of occupancy from one person to the other. Look at it this way: the first person on a virgin land that is not under acquisition by the government, upon a successful application and approval, gets a certificate of occupancy on that land. If that person with a C of O decides to sell the land to another person, at any time, the person must now obtain the consent of the governor in order for the new buyer's name to be registered as owner in the government land registry. If the new buyer now decides to sell the land again to a third owner in future, that third owner must also obtain a new consent of the governor in order for his or her name to be registered as a new owner in the government land registry. And the process continues every time the property changes hands to a new buyer. There can only be one owner of the certificate of occupancy of the land, and it will not be replicated to another person after it's sold or transferred. Let's now talk about other important documents for land transaction. The first one is deed of assignment. A deed of assignment is an agreement drawn up between the owner, seller of the land, and the buyer of the land, showing that the seller has transferred all his rights, title, interest, and ownership to the buyer. It shows the consideration of the conveyance, the description of the parties, the land, and the covenant terms of the agreement. The agreement is thereafter signed and witnessed. It is very important to draw up and sign a deed of assignment when land transactions are made. The deed of assignment is a key document to be submitted to the government in the course of processing governor's consent or other perfection processes. Then the second one is sale agreement. This is an agreement evidencing the term of the sale of the land. It states the name of the parties, the price of the land, describe the land, and the terms of the transaction. It is important to draw up and sign the agreement when transacting. The third one is the survey plan. The survey plan is very important. Before buying land, it is advised that you ask a surveyor to chart the land using its coordinates. This helps check its status. The survey plan is then drawn if you are proceeding with the transaction. The survey shows the exact measurement of the land that you are transacting and also its detailed description and location. This way, there is no confusion about the land. The record copy is lodged at the Survey General Office. Then the fourth one is land receipt. The seller will issue a receipt to the buyer. Some receipts are printed and formal. It is alright if it is typed and signed. It shows the money exchanged and the particulars of the parties, the land, the date, and the signature. So we hope you found this piece very helpful. You can drop your questions in the comment section right now, and for more legal advice you can contact C&B Advisory. You can book an appointment with us as well. You can like right now, subscribe, share, and we'll see you some other time.